Last night a good friend was sharing the issue she was having with trying to wake up her mother. I can certainly relate to her considering my YouTube channel is dedicated to waking up those who sleep. She reminded me that cognitive dissonance is the main issue of resistance we face when attempting to spread the truth. The new video that I was inspired to make came from a memory of a video I had watched when I first awoke to truth. It was an interview Jordan Maxwell had given years ago. He had given great insight to the problems of why the masses refuse to wake up. I downloaded the video and started picking out excerpts I wanted to include within my new video. At some point I took a break to check my YouTube channel for any new comments my subscribers may had left today. There were a couple, but one I found to be most coincidental. Okay, before moving on with this video, I just ask that you put aside all beliefs you have been told about Gnosticism. The word Gnosticism is derived from knowing. And what better way than for the powers that be to hide the truth from you that to take the truth, spin it off as the name of their own belief system and get the masses to shy away from even looking at it. Its true later teachings and practices of Gnosticism are evil and heresy. I contend the early versions of Christian Gnosticism are not. And this is why they are suppressed and labeled as false teachings when in fact they only teach about knowing the truth and of love. Thus one must use discernment when hearing the word Gnosticism and realize that there are two types. One is evil and the other is not. When you apply some of the early Gnostic scriptures as a supplement to the New Testament, you will come to realize this. If you have doubt, don't believe me, ask and pray to be shown the truth. And don't get me wrong, I am not stating that the Bible and the New Testament are not true teachings. I am just stating there may be content missing and/or being taught in a misguiding way. I just ask that you do not shy away from watching the rest of this video when you see the word coming up in the next part. Thank you for listening.
Gospel of Mary Magdalene fully interpreted. LoveTheMeaningOfLife.com. Introduction. What remains of the Gospel of Mary was discovered in Upper Egypt near a place called Akhmim. It is a Gnostic text, meaning that it contains esoteric knowledge. It also means that it was outlawed by those who took control of Christian teachings. There would have been a campaign by both the new church authorities and the Orthodox Jewish temple authorities to seek out and destroy any documents that did not comply with what they were teaching. Those teaching Gnosticism were also hunted down and silenced. It is amazing that any Gnostic texts have survived to this day. The reason that a New Testament was needed was because the hidden meanings of the scriptures were not being taught to the people who were being given the word without the Spirit. It was being taught by people who could see, but not perceive, could hear, but not understand. There were those in control who did understand, but to reveal what was hidden would have meant the loss of their position and wealth. I have seen what is hidden, and it was never about the physical or material world. It was about the world within and the soul. It was about spiritual things and the real you inside. I will open up the scriptures, removing the veil beneath which lies the most important and precious knowledge that mankind could ever possess. To those who are awakened I say, this will change your life and you will never see this world the same again. My love and peace be unto you.
Truth to love inside you 6 hours ago. Thank you for the very kind compliments. I certainly understand and relate to the situation with your mom. I am going through the exact same situation with my entire family and especially my mom. You're right, it is so painful to see the ones we love most hurt by this situation. I have talked to many people and this situation is quite common with those who are awake. The worst part is that few, no matter how hard we all try, have any luck getting through to them. Look at my situation. I have been putting this effort in to seek truth and share it full-time now for almost 2 years. Yet not one person in my family has seen the light or will even take the time to listen to what I have to say. And it's not like I don't give it my best personal effort every time I see them. And that's at least once a week. Their delusions are just too strong. Here is an example of sad and futile my effort has come. Just a few days ago my mother stopped by to visit. So many times I had previously told her this was all a hoax. So I make her watch the latest video of doctors explain it, so proving it as a hoax, and warning the consequences to one's self and other if deceived. She seems undeterred by the content. I then try explain sympathetically why she cannot see the truth. I explain the lies of the media, the control over the news, and manipulations they all use through mind control. I explain to her the agenda and the consequences or her actions of not at least taking the small amount of time to verify what I am saying. I show her a court filing from the U.S. court system website, charging Google, Facebook, and various other tech corporation governments with crimes against humanity, which clearly states their intentions to manipulate and control the minds of the masses. I end her visit by telling her I love her and to at least take my advice and not spend so much time on Facebook or worry about the pandemic. She says thank you, I love you too, and leaves. I pray that I at least got through to her a little bit and that she will not take a vaccine when it eventually comes. I rarely use Facebook since I know who is behind it and the damage it causes. I log in a few hours later to check on my mother to see if she was at least taking my advice about staying away from it. I click on her timeline and then the pain and sadness came. Though I knew my attempt had failed again, I will keep trying no matter how painful it is. 1 hour after she had left me a new post. Just a picture of her and my aunt with a link to a video below it. In 3 hours, 26 people had already liked it. Screenshot of photo and link below. I will pray you are able to connect with your mom. If the video does help, be sure to check out and share the following series one created that goes with this video. Take care my friend, peace be with you also. Greg.
Mr. Sandman, bring us vaccines. We need a cure for COVID-19.
After my completing the reply, in came the emotional pain. I ended up having a small breakdown which led me to start praying. I prayed for my friend's mom. I prayed for my subscriber's mom. I prayed for my mom. I prayed for all moms. I prayed for everybody to see the truth. I prayed for the world. I prayed for the evil to be abolished. I prayed for a world filled with love and happiness. I prayed for more guidance and insight in sharing the truth. Eventually I recovered from my emotions and felt more driven than ever to work on the video I started earlier. Before returning to work on the new video, I decided to watch the first video in the series one had recommended to my subscriber's mother at the end of my reply, Spiritual Evolution, Love the Meaning of Life. Before starting the video I noticed the video view count was 77. I thought to myself, what a shame more people have not viewed this video and watched this series that I had created over 8 months ago. I then noticed, when you combine the video view totals, 77, with the first number in the video date creation, September 7, 2019, you get the number 777. I then smiled. I knew that number had special meaning. I typed 777 meaning in the search bar. And there it was, a sign my prayers were going to be answered. I then became very happy and so very grateful. I knew that in the past after praying, I had also seen signs of the divine and eventually my prayers did manifest. I now had this feeling things were about to get interesting. Boy was I right about that. Angel number 777 and its meaning. This angel number is a very spiritual number, and tripled means its power is magnified 3 times as well. If you keep seeing 777, it's an indication that you are ready to grow spiritually. To do this, you must be able to reveal your highest self and be the best version of yourself. What is the spiritual meaning of 777? 777 meaning in the Bible angel number 777 is special because it has the spiritual energy of the number 7 repeated 3 times. This number is reserved for special messages about your recent thoughts and prayers. According to scripture, seeing 777 is symbolic of perfection, spirituality, and completion.
Closer to the Light by H. W. Hodgetts, William, from LoveTheMeaningOfLife.com. Spiritual Evolution, Love the Meaning of Life, an oasis for spiritual searchers. So you want a perfect life, one full of peace, love and truth, one without suffering and need, and you want that life to last forever. You want to love and to be loved, you want to know the meaning of life, to know who and what you are and why you even exist. These are the things whose existence is revealed to the awakened soul, and hidden to those who still sleep. Those still sleeping in their ignorance are at peace, and they resent anything that threatens to disturb that peace. They are lovers of the worldly things, and of the power that the absence of a conscience, guilt and empathy bring. But the awakened suffer a great disturbance, and they can find no peace because their eyes have been opened, flooding the world and revealing what was hidden in the darkness. Once more they can see what is right and wrong, good and evil. At first they are confused, and then afraid of the place they find themselves in, a place that they know is not their true home, a place they wish to leave, but do not have the knowledge to do so. And so they set out searching for that knowledge only to find that their searching has made them an easy prey to the selfish and ignorant who seek to profit from them and to blind them, making them servants instead of freeing them. What you seek is available and entirely possible. Full awakening has 3 components and they are love, truth and self. Only full awakening results in the perfect everlasting life. Many claim to be enlightened but in truth they do not have all 3 components. The first part of full awakening is unconditional love. The second part is the ability to discern truth that love gives. The third part is the realization of the self's true nature as a spiritual and not a physical being. Each of these components begins like a seed that has to be tended to and grown with water, food and light. It is then that they are reaped. The problem is that other seeds, the seeds of lies and deception, have also been sown and tended, and they must be removed. The mind is like a field, and when you came into the world this field was empty, but as you grew both truths and lies were planted in it, and it is those lies that prevent you from experiencing the life you search for. Now the only way to achieve that life is to clear the field. The things that are of love and the truth that love has revealed must be stored in the memory, and the rest must be burned. You must stop clinging to the things of the world. For all the knowledge that the world has given you, what do you have that is of any worth? What do you have that will end your suffering? What do you have that is not perishable? The things that are of the world stay with the world, and they perish with the world. You cannot take them with you. If you cling to the things of the world and love them, you will be given what you desire in your next life journey. You will come back into the world and inherit what you left behind. Truths are immortal, you are immortal, lies and worldly things are not. You cannot take anything that is not of love and truth into heaven, and if you try to, then all that you have including your love and truth will be taken from you, because it is contaminated. Before you come back into the world, your field will be cleared as if a new mind, and you will remember nothing, not even those you have loved, or who you are. Why wait until then? Clear your field now and start again, keeping only your love and the truth that it has revealed to you. Love not for reward but for love's sake, because the moment you love for a reward you make love conditional, and that kind of love is not allowed in heaven. Anyone who requires a reward before they do anything makes their selfishness exposed and is clothed with shame. The path home to the everlasting perfect life is a narrow path, and each side of it is a ditch which is the world. The wide path is the easy path that leads to the abyss of darkness. It is where the blind end up and where the dead are buried. Let go of the world, and as you fall, love will catch you and raise you into a new and perfect life. All things will be made new, and every tear will be wiped away. Have faith in love, seeking not its reward but its establishment. It is because of my love that I died from my old life and was born again into true life. I am free because I am free from the world. I have no fear because I know this journey in the world is but a moment in time, a passing through the darkness into light. Your life is in your hands, make it perfect through love and you will not have lived and suffered a wasted life. You were always loved and always more precious than the things you have clung to. Let them go and be what you were meant to be, a perfect soul. I know it is difficult, but you will make it, and you will know I have spoken the truth, and that I love you. Love and blessings. William.
Spiritual Healing in Scripture by H. W. Hodgetts, William, from LoveTheMeaningOfLife.com. Spiritual Evolution, Love the Meaning of Life, an oasis for spiritual searchers. It is written, "Let those who have ears, hear." This was said to those who had come to listen, those who were not physically deaf, so why say, "Let those who have ears, hear"? In truth, it was a warning that what had been said, or was about to be said, should not be interpreted literally, but rather it should be interpreted metaphorically. Of those that listened, some understood because they were spiritually awake, but those who were not, didn't even understand the simplest parables. They were referred to as the spiritually deaf. To those who were receptive, the ability to hear spiritually was taught, and this is how the deaf were healed. The ability to hear spiritually must be attained before the ability to see spiritually can be achieved. If you cannot understand what is being said, then how can you form an image of its meaning in the mind? Spiritual hearing is a learning process. If you are spiritually awake and are given the keys to understand, it is far easier and quicker than you may realize. If you are spiritually awake, then you have the ability to see with spiritual eyes, but to use that ability you must first learn to hear with spiritual ears. Those who are not awake have no perception of anything spiritual, and therefore do not know what life is, they do not know what they are. Such people are referred to as the dead. They can only understand things in the physical, material sense, and they believe that they are a physical body, and therefore of the world. When such a person is awakened, they are the dead who are raised to life. Have you understood so far? The deaf are made to hear, the blind are given sight, the dead are raised to life. What of Lazarus? Wasn't he raised physically from death? If he had been, then how can Revelations 1-5 be true when it says that Jesus was the first begotten of the dead? Do you understand? If the death of Lazarus is taken literally, then Revelations 1-5 is false. However, if it is understood metaphorically, all becomes clear. When Jesus visited Lazarus the first time, Lazarus was spiritually awake, but he could not give up his worldly possessions and follow Jesus. Eventually Lazarus succumbed completely to the world and became spiritually dead, and so Jesus returned to him and awakened him spiritually, i.e. raised him from spiritual death to spiritual life. Do you not see that, as is written in Revelations 1-5, Jesus was also at some time, spiritually dead, and through his love and his search for truth, he was raised to life and he became the first begotten of the dead, the first Son of God, the only Son of God, until his disciples were also made sons of God. See 1 John chapter 3 verses 1-2. Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God, therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that, when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. To see Jesus as he is, does not mean to see him as the outward appearance of his physical body, but rather it is to see the soul of Jesus. It is only through empathy that one gains the ability to see another person's soul and to be one with it. What about healing the crippled? The reference to being crippled refers to those who are struggling with their faith because of their worldly desires and so are prevented from continuing their soul journey to perfection. To heal the crippled is to give them the faith to overcome their worldly desires. Is it not written in Genesis chapter 3 verse 15 that the serpent, desire, would bruise his heel? What about turning water into wine? In John chapter 15 verse 1 Jesus says, I am the true vine. What does a grapevine do? It turns water into wine. Water equals spirit. Wine equals love. This is the true meaning of turning water into wine. What about walking on water? Water always represents the spirit. What about calming the storm? This is calming the torment in the mind when faith is tested. If you have read the Bible literally or have been taught to understand it literally, then its secrets have been hidden from you and the truth has remained beneath the veil. Is it not written that Jesus said to the Pharisees, you have hidden the keys to the kingdom? They hid the keys to the kingdom by interpreting and teaching the scriptures literally. How, you may ask, has the word of God been hidden while remaining in plain sight, and why? The truth is that the scriptures have been in the possession of the blind that saw them as a means of gaining wealth and power over the people. Jesus referred to the religious authorities in the following way in Matthew chapter 15 verse 12, Then came his disciples, and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended, after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, Every plant, which my heavenly Father hath not planted, shall be rooted up. Let them alone, they be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. The Pharisees were teaching a false religion, a materialistic one. And did he not also say of them in Matthew chapter 23 verse 15, Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You travel over land and sea to win a single convert, and when you have succeeded, you make them twice as much a child of hell as you are. I tell you in truth there is no difference between the religious authorities that Jesus stood against and the Christian authorities of today. As it was, so it is. They search the scriptures for salvation but they will not find it because they are blind, as are all those that follow them. The word of God was given in the scriptures, and they were wisely designed so that they would be hidden from the spiritually dead. In this way they were preserved for the spiritually sighted, who would not seek to use the knowledge to gain wealth and power over others. I tell you in truth that if the spiritually dead had known what was written in the scriptures they would have completely destroyed them, for in them is their condemnation and the light that would reveal their iniquities. The kingdom of heaven has returned. I hold my hands out to you, not to take but to give. To uncover what was covered, to show you the way, the truth and the life, to heal what was hurt, to show you the way home. Love and blessings. William.
Ancient secrets. Have you ever wondered how it is possible for one person, or a group of people, to rule over the lives of everyone else in their society? In the past such people were referred to as gods, pharaohs, kings, or high priests. Today we refer to such people as the elite, and just as it was in past times, they are not hiding from the public. The only thing that they do hide and protect with a passion, is the knowledge that has empowered them, and there is nothing that they would not do to keep that knowledge secret. When we speak of the elite, we are referring to a group or class of people seen as having the most power and influence in a society, especially on account of their wealth or privilege. A select group that is superior in terms of ability or qualities to the rest of a group or society. When we look back through history it can be seen that there have been elites since at least Sumerian times, and each have been shrouded in organized religion. What you have yet to realize is that all of the religions, from then until now, are based on the same secret knowledge, and that knowledge was and is spiritual knowledge. The same knowledge is still out there right in your face, but it is hidden in metaphors and symbols so you do not see it. It has always been in the hands of the priests to preserve and protect the secret knowledge. Such people have also been referred to as sorcerers and magi, because of their ability to convert spiritual teachings in such a way that they appear to relate to material things. In other words, they were talented in the art of deception and thereby able to create illusions. Spiritual knowledge was never meant to be given to the public, and it was used only as a method of control. The state of the world today and the inability of people to discover the truth that they are searching for, is a direct result of the Great Deception. Anyone who has seen the video on YouTube, Zeitgeist the Movie Part 1, will probably have been astonished by the similarities in religions throughout the ages, but even what is presented in the movie is full of ignorance and serves only the Great Deception, because it is all presented from a materialist viewpoint. The web of deceit. The debate between atheists and the religious community is a wonder indeed to behold. It is a debate with materialists on both sides, and both are in denial of the reality of spiritual things. It is a debate that cannot be won by either side. The religious community has been deceived into interpreting the scriptures literally, and so they are blinded to the metaphorical and symbolic meanings. Such people are expected to rely on blind faith, and they are not supposed to question the literal teachings that they are given. They are simply compelled to conform, or be rejected and judged as worthy of terrible punishment. It is only when people do start to question that they realize that they have been trapped in a terrible web of deceit. Organized religions have only served to reinforce the belief that the physical, material is the only reality, and to enslave the minds of countless millions for the benefit of the few. Atheists have quite rightly rejected the literal interpretations of organized religion's scriptures, because they are not logical and do not conform to the known laws of physical, material science. I am not a religious convert or an atheist, in fact I am opposed to what they teach. I am a spiritual teacher who has through enlightenment, seen the errors in both sides of the debate. I am going to show you what the elite have hidden from you. I am going to show you a new path, one that will astonish you and set you free. I am going to dissolve the web of deceit. There has been many religions and many versions of God and gods throughout the ages, and through them empires were built, only to fall again. We have almost come to the end of such things, and even as I speak, an axe is being taken to the stumps of all organized religions that have led people away from the truth. It is said that knowledge is power. Secret knowledge empowers only its keepers, leaving the rest disempowered. It is said that they shall see but not perceive, and that they shall hear and not understand. This is because the knowledge that you need is hidden behind metaphors, symbols and parables.
Twisted Scriptures by H. W. Hodgetts, William. Love the Meaning of Life, an oasis for spiritual searchers. When my enlightenment happened, it changed my life in ways that I could never have imagined, and it left me with a great gift, one that I could have used to become wealthy and powerful, loved and worshipped as a returning Savior. I could have just stayed silent and lived out the rest of my life experiencing the beauty, peace and inner pleasure of perfect love that had come from enlightenment. Or I could share with the world the truth that I had discovered, and this is what I choose to do regardless of what I will have to endure. It is not my intent to lay waste to religious scriptures of any religious organization, but it is my intent to reveal the true meanings of what those scriptures were meant to convey. It is also my intent to expose those who have twisted the meanings of the scriptures to deceive so many, and to deny them the truth that would have saved them. It was only after my enlightenment that my curiosity turned to religion. It took me to Samaria, Egypt, Babylon, Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, and many other places. What I found was soul science, the knowledge of the spiritual self, and it was hidden in metaphors, allegories, and symbols so that any attempt to interpret them literally would deny access to the hidden knowledge. The same applied to Gnostic teachings, in which some verses were deliberately damaged, because they revealed important keys to understanding. Everything that I found only served to confirm what I already knew. The truth about religion. I used to think that religion was made-up history mixed with fantasy, magic and all-powerful physical beings that ruled over mankind, beings to be worshipped and feared, and I wondered how it was possible for apparently intelligent people to believe in such things, especially without personal proof of them. When I read some of the religious scriptures literally and their claims, things appeared even more troubling, because to accept them would require discarding all logic and reasoning. It would also require the ignoring of obvious contradictions and a rejection of proven science. I began to wonder how religions had managed to preserve their writings for thousands of years without being completely discredited. What was I missing, if anything? I recalled a quote from Sherlock Holmes which said, "When you eliminate the impossible, whatever is left, no matter how improbable, must be the truth." There is no doubt that people are expected by religious teachers to interpret the scriptures literally, i.e., that what is written relates to physical, material things, and that they are about historical events in the world. Yet much of what is written is impossible. This leaves only two conclusions: either what is written is a complete made-up lie, or those teaching the scriptures do not understand their meanings and they have completely misinterpreted them. When interpreted correctly, the scriptures are found to be flawless and full of truth. The purpose of religion. Religious texts were never created to preserve knowledge of the world, or to teach about worldly things. They were created to preserve knowledge of spiritual things, knowledge of the self and the mind, and as a guide for the self on its life journey. Genesis is about the beginning of a life journey and Revelation is about its end. Everything in between is a guide to the self's spiritual evolution to enlightenment. All true religions show the way to enlightenment and the fully empowered self, empowered by love, truth and understanding. The most powerful knowledge. What do you think is the most powerful knowledge that a person can possess? If you could suddenly be endowed with all the knowledge of the world and worldly things, or all the knowledge of the self and mind, what would you choose? What do you think was the most important knowledge to wise men of old? Religion began with the study of the self and mind, and with this came an understanding of behavior and its reason. To know and understand the self is to know and understand everyone else. Religion began with the scientific study of the human mind and its functions, especially those affecting behavior in a given context. We refer to that body of knowledge as psychology. It was soon realized that such knowledge was too powerful to share with the public, and so it was preserved in symbols and metaphors, and revealed only to strong leaders who had previously dominated and controlled the people with the force of physical violence. Now they had a new weapon of control: psychology. It is still used today by those who rule the lives of others, to control their minds and therefore their desires and actions. When people speak of the elite, they are referring to super psychologists. Weaponized psychology is everywhere, and we have all become victims of it. It is like an invisible force, not seen but felt. The knowledge was supposed to empower people, to set them free, but it has been hidden and weaponized. Instead of the gospel of the kingdom of heaven, people have been given the gospel of the kingdom of hell. But that will change with another new and final testament. They have taken something beautiful and covered it with corruption, and they have taken something corrupt and covered it with beauty. It is time to lift the veil. I have a lot of interpreting to do, and on my table now I have Genesis, Revelations and the Gospel of Mary, all in progress. The Gospel of Thomas is already done, but I have not revealed everything in it yet. What I give is given freely. I ask for nothing, and I am open to any questions or inquirers. We are all blessed to be living in these days of revelation, when love and truth are given a voice.
The one thing I will say that the past 50 years has given me is, I would say that nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Governments do not operate the way you think they do. Banks do not do what you think they do. The police department is not here for what you think it is. Nothing in your world works the way you think it does. There's a far higher, bigger picture going on the earth for at least 7,000 years of human history that we modern day people really just don't relate to. All we know is what we live with today. But never suspecting that the institutions of power, banking, education, the military-industrial complex of the world has taken hundreds of years to develop. And over these last hundreds of years, great governments have come into being. Our great country of America, the United States of America, which was the first time on the history of the earth that a people rose up to demand their freedom and impacted the whole world. Because there's never been a time, I don't care when you look back and how far back you go into history, never been a time when the people of any country have ever raised up to declare their freedom. It's never happened. And that's what made America so interesting and so provocative back in the 1800s, is that Americans decided they wanted to be free. So what a clever idea that was. No one had ever tried that before. And of course, when you are a slave and you are considered to be a slave, when you declare yourself to be free, you're going to make some enemies. And you're going to terrorize your masters who thought they owned you. So now you're going to be a terrorist. And they are now able to kill you because you're a terrorist. Why? Because you have terrorized your masters who thought they owned you. And now they see that the slaves are deciding to revolt and don't want to be owned anymore. And they want to be free. And so there was a war. We call it the Revolutionary War, in which Americans decided they wanted to be free, and they wanted to be free at any cost. And so there was a great war that started in our country against our enslavers, which was Europe. Now, if you keep in mind that for at least 2,300 years, Rome has dominated Europe. First of all, obviously, under the Caesars of Rome. And when the Caesars Rome fell at about the 5th century AD, a new power rose in Rome called the Vatican. Well, the Vatican simply took over the position of Caesar of Rome. And so today the papacy or the Pope is still basically Caesar in Rome. And this is why all of the nations of Europe all come to bow down to the Pope in Rome. Because he is, in point of fact, Caesar. His official title is Pontifex Maximus. And that was a term that was given to Caesar of Rome. So the point I'm making here is that for 3,200 years, Rome has dominated Europe. And for 3,200 years, Europe has dominated the world. Therefore, there is the old saying that all roads lead to Rome. So when you begin to see the wars and the tragedies and the things that are going on in the world today, the corrupt politics, the lies and the deception and the wars and incredible things which we're seeing, that people are becoming more and more concerned and worried about what's going on the world scene and where are we going as a civilization, especially Europe now and America. Just keep in mind that what you are seeing today, happening on the earth today, with all the wars and economic problems, etc., all has a pedigree, and all has a background which you need to understand. It's called the history of our country, the history of Rome, the history of the Roman Empire. And so this is why I have always wanted to uncover, so to speak, the hidden history of Europe, the hidden history of America, and in point of fact, the hidden history of the world we live in. Because as I said before, so much of our religion, our government, our commercial systems, our educational systems, are all based on ancient concepts and belief systems. And unless and until you educate yourself as to how your world operates, you're never really going to experience freedom. Because as a man thinketh, so is he. And so one has to start thinking in terms of how would it be in your life if you were truly free. And what would the world be like if humans were actually free and no longer had slave owners, if the whole human race were free to be free to do what they wish? We're not talking about anarchy. We're talking about legitimate government which protects the rights of all good people and allows individuals to be who they want to be and to do the best they can. And so this is what I have always wanted to do, is to help young people, especially young people, to understand where the world they live in has come from and how it got here. Because you cannot fix anything. You can't help any problem if you don't know how the problem started. If you don't, who was it? Albert Einstein said that you can't depend on the same people who caused the problem to fix it. So I believe that knowledge is power. And this is why so many people in America especially feel powerless, because they have no knowledge. It's written in the Old Testament of the Bible. Profound things have been said in the Bible. For instance, it is written in the Old Testament that my people are dying from a lack of knowledge. And that's certainly true. Today people are dying, they're wasting their lives away because they're ignorant, ill-informed, and unread as to how the world works. And there's another scripture that I think is extremely important that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Let me say that again. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Simply meaning that as long as civilization does not understand where we have come from, where we are now, and where is the whole human race going in the future, if you don't have that kind of spiritual vision, then we're going to perish. Because all of us are nothing more than sitting ducks in the pond. Unless you understand freedom and where it came from, and how it was obtained, and unless you start thinking in terms of protecting your rights and your freedoms, the ancient Roman law, and I find ancient Roman law very interesting. Roman law basically said, there was a maximum Roman law that says, for he who would be deceived, let him. And another maximum Roman law that says, if you do not defend your rights, you have none. And so this is what I have been trying to get young people to understand, is that you need to educate yourself about how the world really works. Because until such time as you have educated yourself and understand that knowledge is power, and this is very, very important, because as long as you don't understand how you are being used, how you're being lied to and mistreated, deceived, you're never going to be able to get out of the mess we're in. Knowledge is the key. And unfortunately, too many people are preoccupied with watching television and sports and trying to make a dollar just to stay alive. They don't realize what's really going on behind the scenes in our country of America and around the world. There's a very big story here that needs to be told. Who is running this planet, and what are they doing to the human race? Not just to America, but the whole human family on the earth is in serious jeopardy, and it is calling into question the very veracity of human freedom. Unless and until we wake up and begin to take back the sovereignty of our own minds, forget about television, forget about all the nonsensical entertainment that we're bombarded with, and begin to start thinking seriously about your life and where you've come from and where you're going and what's going to happen to your children and your grandchildren when you're gone. You had better start waking up and understanding the world we live in is very, very serious trouble. And we need to wake up and understand how the world really works. And so it's time that you begin to understand the world you live in, how the government really works. It doesn't work the way you think it does. Banks do not loan money. There's a law in America that says no bank can loan money, period. That's the law. Now, how many people go to get a loan from a bank know that the law in America says no banks can loan money? How many people know that? So once you begin to understand that banks don't loan money, I mean, think about it. Just reason for a moment. Suppose I put my $100,000 of my money into a bank, and 2 days later you come in and want to buy a boat for $200,000 or $100,000, and the bank is going to give you my $100,000 to buy your boat. No possible way is that going to happen. Banks do not have the authority to take my money and give it to you. And if you don't pay, then what? I just lost my money because they gave you my money. That's not the way banks work. Banks do not loan money. So the bottom line on the way commerce works is that nobody pays anyone, period. Therefore, in point of fact, by law, no one owns anything in America. No one. So that's why you don't own your home. You don't own your car. You know, and once you understand how the world works, it's an extraordinary story, a betrayal of the human family. Very, very interesting, dark stuff that we are not aware of. When you get that tag, read it. Read on the tag. It says for official use only. So you're peeling it off and putting it on your car. So now your car has official use only, meaning the state owns your car. And since the state owns your car, they would like to know where their car is. So that's why once a year you have to register your car. You've got to register it to let them know where the car is because they own the car. And incidentally, that also is why you have to have insurance and a seat belt. It's because you do not own your body. The government owns your body, in point of fact. And so your body is a security on the New York Stock Exchange, and the corporation that owns you, and you are owned. There are laws that expressly say that you are owned. You just don't know it. And since you are owned, your owners do not want you to get hurt so that they have to take care of you because you're a security on the New York Stock Exchange. So you must carry insurance. Well, I mean, that makes sense if you've got a stock on the stock market. If you can insure it, that's even better. And so that's why you have to have a license, you have to have insurance. You can't get married without a license because everything in our life is a business. Getting married is a business. That's why you have to have a license to get married. The word license simply means a permit to do something, which without that permit is unlawful. Therefore, is totally unlawful for you to in any way, shape, or form have any relationship with a male or female intimately without a license. So that's why you have to have a license to get married. Why? It's because you are considered by law a maritime admiralty product. It's a very big story, very, very deep, and most people have never heard such a thing. But the bottom line is, what I'm telling you is absolutely true. All you have to do is just start reading a little bit about how commerce works, how government works, how banks work. It's a fascinating story about how the world in no possible way works the way you think it does. So all I'm suggesting is that you might want to, for the first time in your life, start thinking seriously about where you're going and where your country is going and what's going to happen to your children and your grandchildren when you wake up one day to discover your freedoms are gone, your country is gone, your protections that were guaranteed to you as a citizen are gone. We are going to be in very serious trouble because we are ill-informed, unread, undisciplined, and have been taught to bow down and curtsy before royalty. We fall all over ourselves with celebrities, and all we understand anymore is the ball games and the sports and the entertainment. But nobody is suggesting that we might want to start reading the foundations of this country, begin to read and understand how government really works. Once you begin to see how a bank works, why do you have a bank? Why do we do any banking? Banks are found on both sides of a river. They're called river banks. What does a river bank do? It directs the flow of the currency. Because your money is called currency, because it's a ebb and flow of a current. And it's called liquid asset. And when you can't pay for something, then you're underwater. It's an extraordinary story, as I said, about the deception that goes on throughout the world about the real world and how it actually works. So all I'm suggesting is that you might want to take some time out of your life and start looking at the reality of the world you live in, because the world is growing more and more dangerous, more and more ignorant, and extremely violent. And unless and until the people rise up and decide to take back their sovereignty and do something about their lives and quit waiting for government to do something, you know, because in America, we Americans love to talk about how we have the ability to elect our leaders. We're big on talking about how we can elect our leaders. But as Dick Gregory once said a long time ago, yes, we can elect our leaders, but you can't select your leaders. You don't select anyone. Your masters who own you will select who will run. You can merely vote on whoever they decide to allow you to vote on. It doesn't mean much of anything. It's just a poll. And so every 4 years, Americans go to the poll to tell their masters who own them. And they do own you. Your body as a security on the New York Stock Exchange. You need to understand that. And so every 4 years, your masters who actually own your body want to know which one of these individuals that work for us, they work for the corporation, you work for the company, but which one of these would you feel better about having at the head of the company? Which one do you personally like? All 6 of them work for the company. They work for the government, period. But which one do you particularly like? Because this way, if you particularly like one and you vote for him, then we will make him the president of the company, and you will be happy because it was your choice. No, it wasn't your choice. You didn't have the opportunity to select your leader. You only had the opportunity to elect one of the 6 that they gave you, and all 6 work for the same company. So this is why nothing ever gets done, because people don't understand how their world really works. Extraordinary stuff. I suspect that this is a very important time in human history, and especially in the history of our country, when you don't know how your government works. You had better wake up and understand that you have left your government in the hands of other people to take care of things for you because you're too busy with your everyday life. Well, when you leave your personal business and your children and your life in the hands of someone else to take care of you, they're going to take care of you all right. Whatever decisions they make, they're going to take care of themselves, not you. Because you left yourself in their care, they will decide what you will eat. They will decide what you will wear. They will decide if you will have a job or not. Why? Well, because you left yourself in my care. I'm supposed to be in charge of you. So I will decide how much you will make. And you can bet that I'm going to make 1,000 times more than you do. Because I'm in charge. After all, you voted for me. So I'm just saying there's time for us to wake up. These are very evil days, and unless America is ready to wake up and face the facts that we have been lied to, deceived, and tricked into surrendering our lives, our minds, our sovereignty of thinking, and as I said in the beginning, what we need more than anything now is a spiritual and intellectual renaissance, a revolution spiritually around the world, where people wake up to the responsibility to stand before your Creator and be a normal adult human being who knows what's going on, who understands the world, and can contribute something to the good for the whole human race. But it's going to require that you educate yourself and understand how the world works. And since the world that we live in today is basically run by fear and tyranny and violence and threats And there is no longer any freedom and liberty and justice for all, which America used to be famous for. You know, Superman in one of the movies said he stands for the American way, freedom, liberty, and justice for all. Well, I like what Dick Gregory said, you're no longer free or brave. This is not a land of the free and a home of the brave. We're not free or brave. The way I have chosen to do my work is just to quietly try and help young people and anyone else who is listening, but I'm mostly concerned with the lives of young people, because older people usually are so jaded they don't want to change anything. They're not interested in changing anything. But young people see the value in changing for the better. Older people don't. And so I have always wanted to just quietly do the best I can to cause young people to read, study, educate themselves, intellectually and spiritually enlighten themselves, because this is very important in this time of these times in which we're living. Let me talk for a few moments about entertainment. If you go back into history, into European history, thousands of years ago, even before the Roman Empire dominated Europe, there was already a governmental system in operation in Europe, even before the Roman Empire existed. There were already lots of people living there, and they had a whole system of government in operation. And that system was consisting of lawyers and doctors and religious leaders and law enforcement, etc., etc. And that system was called the Druids. There was a Druidic system. The Druids were a Celtic or a Celtic, can be spelled either way with a K or a C, Celtic or Celtic European Druid system. And one of the most important symbols in that ancient Druidic system that ruled Europe before the Roman Empire, and the Druids are still in existence today in Europe, and there are even Druid societies in America today. So they haven't completely gone. But the point I wish to make is that in the ancient world, in the ancient European world, was a Druidic system. And one of the most important symbols in that European Druidic system was a magic wand. Like Merlin the magician with his magic wand, always waving the magic wand. The same idea as today with the orchestra leaders who have the magic wand, and of course you play to their tune. They're the boss. They have the magic wand. And Merlin the magician, as I said, was always a Druidic symbol for power, a magic wand. Magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It was made out of Hollywood. Once you understand Hollywood, you begin to understand the Druidic system, which we call Hollywood. And then you begin to see the symbols, the words, the terms. Hollywood, as my dear friend Dick Gregory once said, Hollywood does three things. They tell you what your masters have done in the past, what they're doing now, and what they're getting ready to do. That's what Hollywood is there for, to tell you the history and where you are now and where you're going. Because people like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas are many things, but stupid is not one of them. They're brilliant directors and producers. They're extraordinarily brilliant writers and people in Hollywood who know what's going on. They know where the world is going, and they're putting it into movies. They're showing you what it was like many years ago, what it's like now, and they're making movies about what's coming. That's Hollywood, Druidic system of entertainment. You need to wake up and understand what's going on here. And unless and until the human race can get back their sovereignty to question everything, to question the ethics, the laws, the rulers, who these people are who rule over us, where do they get their authority to rule over us. Unless you're ready to do that, you might as well understand your children and your grandchildren are going to live under tyranny. They're going to live in a very violent, dark, and evil world that is coming. And so I believe that the only hope for the human race is for a spiritual and intellectual renaissance where people begin to question everything. Do not accept anything from anyone unless you can prove it to yourself. Because there's a lot of people out there with a lot of money and very powerful people who will lie to you through their teeth and couldn't care less because they have no respect for you and they know that you're going to buy anything they say and therefore they will have their way with you. I would suggest to save the human family, you might want to start quietly resisting tyranny. Begin to question everything. Read, study, find out how commerce works. Find out how the law really works. Find out how this country was founded, where freedom came from. Go back and start reading and studying, and you're going to find out the world has come a long ways down this dark hole into tyranny and violence because people have allowed it. It was Albert Einstein who said, the world is a very dangerous place, not because bad people do bad things, but because the rest of humanity does nothing. And that's the truth. That is the real truth. The real problem on the earth today is that, as the philosophers once said, all that is needed for evil to exist and prosper is for enough good people to do nothing. And so that's the problem. Today, overwhelming majorities of the American people couldn't care less. As long as they have the food to eat and the cold beer to drink and they're entertained, just as it was in the Roman Empire, as long as you have the entertainment and alcohol and the music and whatever it is that are your drugs. We're the biggest drug-using nation in the world. Our people are on drugs everywhere. Legal and illegal. Doesn't matter. We are a drug-taking society. The reason why is because we as a people in America know we've been had. And we have no power because knowledge is power and we have no knowledge and we know it. So I'm suggesting if you want to save the world for your children, for your grandchildren, you might want to start doing something you've never done before. Slowly but surely, read, question, think, and evaluate what's going on, and do not take the word of anyone. There's a scripture that says, there's a scripture in the Bible, in the New Testament, that says, do not trust any man. Put not your trust in earthly man, in whom there is no salvation. Every time people are jumping in the streets and praying and crying and dancing in the streets because their man got to be president, and eventually 6 months later they will find out he was nothing more than just one more criminal running a scam on them. So all we need to do is just keep voting, just keep doing what you've always done, because it's never gone anywhere and it's never going to go anywhere. Why? Because that's what we want. As a nation, we want people to lead us. And when people lead you, they're going to mislead you. So you better start taking back your own mind and your own sovereignty and start thinking for yourself, which has made America great. We were a free country because we did not want to cower ourselves to tyranny. We wanted to question everything. Well, the world has changed. We've lost our freedom. We've lost our jobs. We've lost our money. Many of us have lost our homes. And now generally the country is just losing its mind. And that's why drugs are on sale everywhere. The Magdalene cartels are selling drugs and making billions off of America. On every street corner in America there are drug sales. every corner has a liquor store, is because somebody is wise enough to know that they're using us and that we are frustrated and we need drugs and alcohol and entertainment just to get by from day to day. So this is the world you're leaving for your children. This is the world you're leaving for your grandchildren. You need to wake up, get yourself grounded in intelligence, wisdom, and knowledge, and start asking questions. You better do it, and you better do it soon. The world we know is not going to be here much longer. What your masters have planned for this world, you have no idea in the world what's coming. This is very serious. You need to wake up. So, the whole idea of life on the earth is that there are two kinds of law, the law of the land and the law of the sea. And once you understand that all activity of humans on the earth, crime, doesn't matter what kind of activity, whatever the activity you're involved in, is under the law of the sea. It's under maritime admiralty law. And you need to understand that. So that you need to understand what the word maritime law means. It means the law of the sea. Let me give you an example about how the law of the sea works. All ships, rocket ship, sailing ship, item has to have its own certificate of manifest. You have to have how much does the car weigh, how much does it weigh, what color was it, does it have air conditioning, is it 4-door or 2-door? So it has to have its own certificate of manifest. Why? Because it came in on a ship and she delivered the product on the water, on the high seas. And so she's now sitting in her berth. So this is why when you were born, your mother's water broke. And you came out as a maritime admiralty product because you came out of water. Therefore, you have to have a birth certificate, a certificate of manifest from the ship who sits in the harbor in her berth. So you have to have a birth certificate. Why? And who has jurisdiction over the birth certificate is the dock, because that's where the ship is sitting. It's sitting at the dock. So the dock has to sign your birth certificate. Why? Because you are a maritime admiralty product. The banks will buy your body. And it's a story of the way banks work, the way maritime admiralty commerce works. You need to understand that you are a product. This is why if you are looking for a job, you're not looking for employment. You go to a human resource center because you are nothing more than a resource. You're a human resource. Just like iron and copper and oil and silver, and you're a resource. So you need to understand how this stuff works. When you drive through the downtown Los Angeles, you will see gang graffiti on the walls. Most people driving by and seeing gang graffiti just shake their head because it's just incredible the way that young people destroy property by spray painting graffiti on walls. But young people who understand that graffiti is a symbol, it means something. And if you don't understand the symbolism, you need to stay out of that neighborhood. So the same thing is happening all around the world. If you understand the flags and the symbols on flags, or the coats of arms, or the heraldry, or the corporate logos that companies and corporations use, these are all symbols and words and terms that are being used. So, unless and until you understand that the whole world is a business, the entire earth is a business. This is why you have to have a license. You have to have a license to get married, because whether you understand it or not, you are considered, in this country, you are considered to be a corporation. Your body is a corporation, a company. That's why when I see you with the person, I say, you know what, that person you were with is bad company. Company? And you say, mind your own business. Business? And then I find out you're going to get married, and then you're going to have a partner. Company, business, partner. All human relations is corporate business. That's why you have to have a license to get married. If your marriage doesn't work, you're not going to God, you're going to court. And you're going to bring your money and all of your assets with you because it's just business. So you need to understand how this stuff works. Life is nothing more than a business.